Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great night. So I have another story here for you from the book of the Bizarre True Crimes. This one is called Missy Bevers and the SWAT Murder. Now, I'm going to show you some screenshots here, and I'm sure you'll remember when you see the person in the SWAT outfit who had unalived this poor woman. There's a video and everything all on YouTube if you want to catch up with it, or I can do it with you guys. But anyways, I'm going to read the story and I'm just going to flip through. So on Monday, April 18th, 2016, Missy Bevers woke in the very early mornings to get ready and drive to Creekside Church in Texas. She arrived at 4:18 a.m. and began hauling exercise equipment into the church's indoor classroom. The wife and mother of 3 girls was setting up for a popular 5 a.m. Camp Gladiator boot camp class. Those who attended her class regularly said Missy was an energetic and motivating presence. That made them look forward to the early exercise classes. Students began arriving just before 5 a.m., but instead of finding Missy ready to give her beloved students a dynamic workout, they found her lying face up on the floor of the classroom, surrounded by broken glass from an unknown source. The frantic students called 911 at 5:06 a.m., but there was nothing that could be done. Missy was already passed. Police immediately began an investigation, and it wasn't long before an extremely promising lead presented itself. Well, unfortunately, the cameras in the church parking lot had been out of service for some time. The interior of the church was equipped with motion sensor security cameras. At around 3:50 a.m. that morning, the cameras had been activated. They caught a clear picture of the murderer wandering the halls. The individual was dressed head to toe in black police riot gear, complete with black face covering, a helmet with a light attached to it, and what looked to be a bulletproof vest with large white letters spelling out police across the back and the chest. They seemed eerily calm and in control as they stalked the halls of the church, checking doors and breaking things with the hammer that was clutched in their left hand. The medical examiner said later on that the wounds on Missy's head and chest were consistent with the tool the suspect was carrying, though police have not released exactly how Missy had passed. The authorities studied the tape to get an accurate profile of the suspect. They said the individual was between 5 feet 2 inches and 5 feet 8 inches and walked with a distinctive gait, with their toes pointed outward and a slight limp or a lilt to their walk. Interestingly, the authorities said the walk had a feminine sway, and, considering how short the suspect was, they could not rule out the possibility that the killer was a woman. Because the security tape showed that the suspect was already in the building by the time Missy arrived, the first theory was that she had accidentally interrupted a burglary in progress and was murdered in a panic. However, this wasn't a so-called mega church known to use expensive AV equipment or be raking in huge donations. Creekside was a relatively small church, especially by the Texas standards, that served the small town of Midlothian. Maybe a desperate person looking to do a quick smash and grab would target a church for whatever they could find, but the person caught on camera did not look like a frenzied small-time criminal. There's also the fact that nothing of value was taken. Church officials said none of their equipment was missing, and even Missy's jewelry was left untouched. So if it wasn't a robbery, what was it? Was Missy specifically targeted? Of course, the police did what they always do in these cases and turned their attention to Missy's husband. Brandon Bevers fully cooperated with the police. He gave them access to everything they needed and didn't seem to be hiding anything. Brandon told them his 20-year marriage had been solid, and he didn't know anybody who even disliked Missy, let alone anyone who would want to kill her. Brandon also had an airtight alibi for the night his wife was murdered. He was on a fishing trip in Mississippi, which police were able to confirm through receipts and surveillance footage. On April 22nd, 4 days after the murder, the authorities thought they had a massive break in the case. A man had taken a white, blood-stained woman's long-sleeve shirt into a dry cleaner in Midlothian. He claimed it was canine blood from a dog. From a dog fight he'd broken up in his daughter's backyard, after which he had to take his dog to the emergency vet. The dry cleaner knew of the shocking murder that had occurred just 4 days before. He called the police not only because he was suspicious of the man's story, but because the man was Randy Bevers, Missy's father-in-law. What was a member of Missy's family doing with a blood-stained garment only a few days after her murder? Speculation spread widely as the public got its hands on the information. A theory sprang up that Brandon and his father were working together, and Brandon had just taken his fishing trip as a cover-up for his whereabouts while his father committed a crime they knew Brandon would be suspected of. Others thought Brandy had worked alone to try and get Brandon out of a bad marriage without losing any money or custody of his daughters in the bitter divorce. It didn't help Brandy's case that he also matched the physical description of the suspect from the surveillance footage to a T. He was a shorter, stocky man and walked with his toes pointed outward, the same distinctive gait used by the suspect in the surveillance footage. Unfortunately for those who thought they had solved the mystery, all Randy's alibis checked out. He had been on a golfing trip in California on the morning of Missy's murder. His daughter Christy also confirmed that a dogfight had happened in the backyard, and there was surveillance footage from the emergency vet that showed Randy did indeed take his dog to be treated after his fight. People in the community held out hope that the blood on the shirt from the dry cleaner would still come back a match to Missy's, or at least become another promising lead, but it was confirmed to be canine blood. The family bore no ill will toward the dry cleaner or the community, who speculated about the Bevers' involvement in Missy's death. In fact, they held a press conference and thanked everyone involved for bringing whatever they could to the authorities. They encouraged people to keep looking out for anything suspicious that may lead to a suspect. When the police received the records back from Missy and Brandon's phones, they found evidence of the couple having marital problems due to both financial struggles and infidelity. This didn't necessarily mean that Brandon was lying to the police about their happy marriage, but it didn't open up the possibility that Missy had been messing around with someone who may have been dangerous, or maybe that the killer was related to someone looking for revenge, such as a scorned spouse. Police followed up on several more leads surrounding the possible infidelity that was alluded to in the Bevers text messages. A friend of Missy's recalled Missy showing her a creepy message she had received from an unknown man on her LinkedIn profile just a few days before she was killed. The authorities looked into the rest of Missy's activities on LinkedIn. They couldn't find the specific message Missy's friend remembered, but did find what they called flirty and familiar messages, and even some that turned intimate. A workout buddy of Missy's named Mark also said that she was acting unusually around the time she was killed, and some sources say she even suddenly stopped going to the gym she'd gone to almost daily for years. Could someone have been following her? The problem with being an independent contractor for a fitness business is that your business relies on advertising. You have to let people know where you will be almost every single day. Missy had posted on her Facebook page the day before the murder that even if she expected rain did ruin her plan for an outdoor boot camp, the class would still be meeting inside the church. If someone wanted to know where Missy was, all they had to do was look at her social media. Striking before an extremely early workout class would ensue that it was dark. Missy was alone, and most of the town was still asleep. However, some people don't believe that Missy thought she was in danger. She lived in Texas, an open carry state, and did have a gun registered to her name. She had left that gun in her car as she set up for the class that day, leading many to believe that Missy wasn't expecting anything to happen to her. After all, if you were scared for your life and setting up alone in a dark, desolate area before the sun even crested the horizon, you would probably bring a form of protection, right? Once again, the trail went cold as investigators ruled out the persons of interest from Missy's LinkedIn messages, call logs, and text messages. Looking to the public for help, the police released a video from the night of the murder showing an extremely suspicious vehicle. They concluded that it was a silver Nissan Altima made between 2010 and 2012 with an oval sticker on the back. The car entered the parking lot of a sporting goods store down the block from the church at 1:58 a.m., turned off its lights, and very slowly circled the parking lot. It stopped for a moment, turned its lights on and off several more times, and left the lot at 2:04 a.m., less than 2 hours before the unknown suspect entered Creekside Church. No useful leads came from this information, but another vehicle became the next point of interest for police. At around 4:30 on the morning of the murder, a witness said they saw a dark SUV leaving the church parking lot. This wasn't much information to go on, but once again, the community proved helpful. Since Missy's murder, police have received more than 1,000 tips in various aspects of the case and suspicious people who should be investigated. Many of those tips were about a man named Bobby Wayne Henry. Bobby drove a brand new SUV similar to the one the witness saw that night. He also was a former police officer with tactical agent who admitted to the investigators that he still owned some of his tactical gear, though he said it no longer fit. Bobby had been fired from the force in 1996 for aggravated sexual assault and had since been working as a security guard. He also attended Creekside Church where Missy was murdered and had actually worked security at her funeral, as it was such a high-profile case. It certainly wouldn't be the first time a killer had attended their victim's funeral. It's fairly common for a criminal to want to return to the scene of the crime or check up on the aftermath of what they have done. The community was disturbed and disgusted to think that maybe Missy's murderer may not have been there but had actually been paid to attend her funeral. Those who called the police about Bobby had also noted that the man had an extremely distinctive gait, just like the suspect on the tapes. The authorities even brought in forensic podiatrists to compare Bobby's gait to that of the suspect, but they could not definitively conclude that they were the same. Police seriously looked into Bobby, but other than the inclusive report on the strange gait, there were several reasons they couldn't match him to the person who murdered Missy. First of all, he was over 6 feet tall, while they believed the suspect on the security cameras to be between 5 foot 2 inches and 5 foot 8 inches. He also passed several polygraph tests, and his wife said he was home with her all night and into the morning that the crime occurred. The investigation didn't clear Bobby of everything, though. The authorities found child pee on his computer, and he was arrested and jailed in 2017. Bobby was the last major lead in the case. Despite the suspect being caught on camera, a suspicious vehicle acting oddly right down the street from the murder, reports of creepy messages from strangers, and many tips that led to a former police tactical agent with the same strange walk as the suspect. This case has never been solved. So if you have any information about this murder, please speak up, because it definitely needs to be solved. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.